Okay, guys. So, welcome back. This is our fourth lesson. We are going to focus on the VCF section, which is another bulk of the DS10 engine. You have three knobs. You have your cutoff knob, your peak knob, and your your EGINT knob. So I hope you watched the first episode where we talked about the EG section, because now we're going to use it again for this section. So you have your three knobs, and then you have a switch for your type. So the first knob is the cutoff knob. Now, the DS10 engine is a subtractive synthesizer. That means you start with a sound. Excuse me 1 second. Let's get a default. All right. We're going to put a long note. Extra note here. And so, subtractive synthesis is what it means, what it says. Subtractive meaning you start with a sound and you just take away from it to make your sound. So, the cutoff, while it's all the way up, as I lower it down, you can hear the sound and see that the sound gets a lot more smoothed out. As I put it up high, it gets sharp again. So it takes out, I guess it takes out some waves out of it, or certain sounds or parts of it out of the sound, until you go all the way down to where it's just almost quiet. Well, yeah, it's quiet there. So that will also help you make more sounds. It makes the sound more smoother and a little bit more muffled, as you can hear. And yeah, that just helps you make more sounds that way. Also, at the same time, in the last tutorial, we talked about the VCO waveforms, and there's only 4 of them. And I told you there was a way of getting a sine wave. So, you got your triangle wave. And when you load that down, now you have a sine wave. Now you have a sine wave. And that's one way to get a sine wave for here. A sine wave is great, and it's a key element to doing modulation. You know, the sounds that you hear in your old 80s movies, or you hear on a Sega Genesis, or old FM systems in the arcade. They use more complex systems, but at least we can do it here. So I will get to that in a later lesson. But that's what the cutoff knob does. The peak knob, it sharpens the sound. So if I put the peak knob more higher, you can see the sound get a little more clearer and more sharper on the oscilloscope. I use this a lot for when I make my sound. I may be having a small cutoff and it sounds too muffled, and with just the peak alone, you can make the sound sharper. So it's great if your sound sounds a little muffled and you want to make it sharper without touching too much of the cutoff. Try using the peak. Okay. Now, I am going to skip over the envelope generator real quick. We'll get back to it. Now, the VCF type, as you heard with the cutoff, if I go to the left, the sound gets lower, more muffled, softer. And if I go to the right, sound gets higher, or all the waveforms are back in. Now, if you can see these shapes here on the VCF type, you have LPF, HPF, and BPF. On the LPF, you can see a straight line and then going down. So that represents the cutoff. On the second type, you see a line going up and then straight. So when I'm on that HPF type, the cutoff switches places. It's still the waves on the side, but now when I go to the right, now it makes it sound very tinsy. And if I go to the left, the sound now gets louder, but it still keeps what was what the original cutoff was, but now because of the type, you got a more different flavor of sounds there. And then the PPF type, you can see it goes up and then down in a smooth loop, so that smooths it out. So now you got the tinsy side here and the original the way the cutoff is on that side too. So the highest point would be the middle. Now you may be asking, what would you use this for? Some drums like hit hats will work with the HPF, or maybe you're just used to the LPF. I never use it too much, but a cool thing you can do with this, if you need to make your music sound like it's playing across the hall or behind another wall, you hear those songs. I did the example in my Battletoads, so let's go there. I have it here. Let me go and load up the Battletoads track if I can find it. I have so many tracks here. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. All right, here is the first part. And here's the same part. So you sound that other part sounded clearer. So let's just try to single out one sound. Let me get another one here. Nope, let's try. I got a better idea. Let's go to the SYNTH and check it out. Okay, I'm using BPF here and HPF. I would go get a different tone. Let's see what we got here. All right. Huh. Well, I have a couple of effects on there. Let me single out the guitar and this. So you can hear it sounds a little muffled and everything. And if I go to this one, you can see it sounds very clear. So that's why I use that effect for. It's great if you want to make that effect. A lot of songs do it. You hear the song and it sounds like it's being played on a radio or something, and then boom, it comes out of nowhere and starts up. So do I have it here? Let's see. Yes, I do. So it would sound like this. So mostly in that 8-bit sound, you can hear the difference. It's very, the 8-bit sound has the biggest difference. Let me see if I can find that sound. There we go. And here's the clear version. Oh, right now. as you can see, I just put it to the BPF straight there. And same thing on the fifth one. So a quick way, if you want to use that effect, you can just put it down there to the BPF. And with the chaos pad, which we'll get to in the future, you can even smoothly slide into that effect as well. I never did that before, but it is possible. So we will get to that later. Now let's get back to our sound and do a long note again. Get the gate up there. Okay. So that's what the VCF type is for. Sometimes you might be trying to make a sound and maybe it might not sound the way you want it. So moving it down to the HPF and moving the cutoff to the left might help you more finding sound. Just, you just fool around with it. That's all. It just gives you a little difference, and that difference might sound better to you or might give the effect that you want. So just, play around with it. Okay. So now we talked about the cutoff, the peak, and the type. Now we're back to the envelope generator again. If you've seen the last two episodes I talked about, the first one talks about the envelope generator, and the second episode we talked about the pitch and how the envelope generator affects the pitch. This does the same thing, but it affects the cutoff right here. This thing, it affects the cutoff. So if you do it manually like this, see, you can do the same way with the envelope generator. So let's put no decay. Let's put a sustain there. All right, real quick, we're gonna do the attack. As you remember the attack, the sound gets hot, goes from 0% to 100. Right now, if you put just like the same way, it doesn't have a plus or subtract sign for whatever reason, but it's the same thing. This is the subtract side, this is the plus side. So if I put some envelope generator for the cutoff into it, you can barely hear it. Let me put it a little lower. And let's put more attack. Now you can see the sound getting, it goes smooth and into sharp while the volume is going up. And go away. So you can see that. This can give you some cool effects. Combined with the peak, let's well, before I go into that, we talked about the attack. The decay is the same, let's get the thing here. Too much decay. Let's put it over there. Okay, so you see how the volume is going into the sustain level, like I talked about in the last lesson. Then we'll put that there. There we go. Now the sound goes from sharp to smooth with a decay. And like last time, I add the attack. Now it goes up and down. And then, as you remember with the release, I'll add the release in there. You remember what happened with the sound before? The sound fades to 0, and then with the envelope generator here on the cutoff, let's put it here. Now as the sound fades away, the sound smooths out. So just like the pitch, just like the volume, the envelope generator affects this as well. Now, you could do a lot of effects with this. The number one effect that I use is to make a funky bass. So if you remember how the peak sharpens the sound, that can also affect the cutoff. So you can see because of the peak, it makes, as it smooths out, it makes that weird funky noise. Less peak, you don't hear it too much, but a lot of peak. So if I made a bass sound with a little bit of decay, small sustain, let's get a little bit more there. So you can hear that. Let me put it as a triangle wave, I think. A little drive. A little bit. Anyway, though. So more into that later. So yeah, the peak combined with a envelope generator cutoff gets you a nice funky sound. That's what I use it for. But you know, you can mess with it and do a lot of other things. You can make some cool effects, or even some of the effects that you might hear in today's music or your favorite music, you can probably figure out from using this as well too. So that's pretty much it for the VCF section. I hope you learned a lot. Let's move on to the next lesson. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching the show. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my website, drexegger.com, for some news, more lessons, and patches. You can also check out my SoundCloud for some music as well. And if you have a question, feel free to ask that question in the comments below. I'll try to reply back as soon as possible. Take care and have fun creating music.